Donald Trump won the US elections last year with a landslide. Now, one of Trump's most ardent supporters is tech billionaire Elon Musk. Musk is part of the Make America Great Again or MAGA movement. But in the 2 months since the US elections, we've seen a curious phenomenon. Elon Musk has begun targeting countries ruled by liberal politicians. Now, Musk owns X, one of the world's most influential social media platforms. It has over 330 million users, and Musk has over 200 million followers on Twitter. Since the US elections, let's look at Trump's hit list, or rather, Elon Musk's hit list. On the 12th of December, Musk called Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau an insufferable tool. Won't be in power much longer. Less than a month later, Trudeau was gone. Other leaders across the world are worried. Over the past few days, Musk has relentlessly targeted UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. In Germany, where Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Social Democrats are facing a tough election this year, Musk has openly endorsed Germany's far-right AfD party. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron has accused Musk of election interference. So is Musk a new kind of global right-wing crusader? Why is he doing what he is doing? And what happens now? Will the charges of election interference against him that Macron has leveled stick? Joining me to unpack this extremely unusual phenomenon are Kushal Mehra, Adit Kothari, and Surinder Singh Lali. Welcome to the News 9 Plus show. I want to start by asking you this, Kushal. You know, Justin Trudeau just stepped down a few hours ago. Is this the end of the Trudeau era, or is he going to be in power for much longer? He was one of, Elon Musk's original targets. They have a love-hate relationship on Twitter.
Well, listen, Elon Musk is a very peculiar character. As of now, his ire is not on the Indian political class.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm deeply uncomfortable with the idea of a billionaire having so much control over.
I'm going to ask you that question eventually, but because Kushal, while we are applauding all of this on the global scale, sooner or later it will come to us as well, and we will have to kind of look at it. But first, tell us about this curious phenomenon of why Elon Musk has gone on this global rampage against world leaders, starting with Justin Trudeau, who he seemed to have, pronounced mission accomplished now. Why is he doing?
I don't think so. It needed an Elon Musk to end the reign of Justin Trudeau. I think Justin Trudeau should be given the most credit for ending the reign of Justin Trudeau.
Right.
I think his goose was cooked a while ago.
Right.
It was just we were waiting for the inevitable. But I know the news has come yesterday evening in India, early morning in Canada. I think he, in typical Justin Trudeau fashion, he was 15 minutes late for his own press conference.
Right.
so that is so classic Trudeau.
Yes.
But so I went through the speech, like I heard it a few times, and there were some key excerpts. So what did he say? That I'm proroguing the parliament. So in Canadian legalese, proroguing the parliament means adjourning, right? You know how in India we adjourn the house, right?
Yes.
So he's adjourned the parliament till March 24. That means you have no activity for the parliament to happen. So all the bills that were supposed to be voted for, they are just going to be lapsed. So one good news for the Canadian population is that there was an extremely anti-free speech bill called Bill C-63.
Right.
Now that is no longer going to be a reality. I would it was a alleged hate speech bill, so that will fall. But also what's going to happen is that the supply side arrangements, all the money that he would have struggled to get to fund his extravagant social welfare schemes, now he can push through the money and dump the entire fiscal deficit on the government incoming. In the meantime, Jagmeet Singh is very happy because if you guys remember, 24th of February was Jagmeet Singh's famous pension date. He needed to be in the government and as a parliamentarian. So that is taken care of. Jagmeet gets his pension now. So Jagmeet would be celebrating that $2.3 to $2.4 million pension that has been spoken about all the time.
Right.
Jagmeet has kind of fixed that. So I hope Jagmeet throws us all a little party after all. Jagmeet should be very kind and generous that way. After all, Jagmeet always says Punjabis are very generous, and Jagmeet should show his generosity as a
Right.
true Punjabi and throw us all a small party.
Right.
But so you have to understand that what Trudeau said was, now we'll have to go for a leadership election. So
Yes.
now let me explain the Canadian system of how this happens. So in the Canadian system, we will the main party, right,
Yeah.
as such, they have to select a leader.
Right.
So if Trudeau resigns or is
Yeah.
removed,
Yeah.
you will have some sort of a leadership election, like a primary in
Right.
in the Liberal Party of Canada, because
Yes.
that is part of the Liberal Party constitution itself. Now,
Right.
unless an election gets called,
Yeah.
the new Liberal leader will become the Prime Minister of Canada. Until
Right.
there is a new Liberal leader,
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau remains the caretaker Prime Minister of Canada.
Right. Right. Sort of like a Mohammad Yunus, a caretaker Prime Minister.
So he's still the
who
Prime
stays-
Minister of
yeah.
Canada. I don't know what people are getting excited about.
Right.
What so what are the names that are doing rounds in as far as the leadership race is concerned, right? So we
Right.
have Christy Clark, Melanie
Yeah.
Jolie, Mark Carney, Christopher Freeland, Anita Anand. These are the names that are doing the rounds right now.
Right.
So CTV just did a poll. I mean, I can't help but I'm controlling my laughter. So when they had the most appealing liberal leadership candidate poll that was shared on CTV, these
Yes.
were the options: Christy Clark, Melanie Jolie, Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney, Christopher Freeland,
Yeah.
and one of the options was none of the above.
Right.
Guess which polled the highest?
Right.
None of the above polled 22%. Christopher Freeland polled 19%.
Yes.
So none of the above is winning the election right now.
Yeah, but Kushal, why do you need elections in Canada if Donald Trump is planned to annex it and make Canada the 51st
Yeah,
state?
well,
Then you
obviously
go
that's
by
not
the
going to
US.
happen. We all know that's not going to happen. But the point is, see, Justin Trudeau has humiliated Canada on such
Yes.
a global scale that
Yes.
imagine Justin Trudeau resigns and the Dairy Queen in Canada
Yes.
says, you have one burger free on one more, and there was like a
Right.
25-minute line. They
Yes.
eventually had to take it down because corporate must have called that Dairy
Right.
Queen and said, "Listen, you can't do that."
Yes.
But there was an actual Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen is like an ice cream and
Right.
burger shop. It's
Right.
like another one of those food chains, franchisees.
Yes.
And they actually had a giant line. My friends went there, they took a video and they sent it to me.
Right.
So Justin Trudeau, I think, is arguably the most hated political figure in the entire world right now. Nobody likes Justin Trudeau.
Nobody likes
I think
Justin
Justin Trudeau's butler doesn't like Justin Trudeau too.
Right. So,
So-
so in a sense, Kushal, Elon Musk has picked a soft target, guy who was unpopular in
it
any
has
case,
nothing
and
to
he
do
was
with Elon
on,
Musk.
on his way
this
out.
entire
right?
thing of Elon
Yes.
Musk causing Justin Trudeau's fall.
No, okay.
It's all
Greatly
rubbish.
exaggerated.
I don't
but
agree with that.
before I go on to Surinder, I want to ask you, what do you make of this Elon Musk phenomena? The guy who's going around all guns blazing, trying to reshape the global political equations, attacking Germany one day, UK the next, France the third day, and of course Canada. What do you make of him? Is he like a right-wing George Soros?
I like Elon the technologist. I
Right.
like Elon the thinker.
Yeah.
I like Elon the person. I don't like Elon the guy who tries to meddle in other countries' politics. Listen,
Right.
I don't like
good
that.
question. Which is
he
why
will
we're
do it
calling
with
him.
India
Yes.
too.
He will.
Eventually.
He will. Yeah. And I think that's when we're going to, stop laughing and actually start answering a lot of tough questions. Not good at all. But Surinder, what do you make of this phenomena of this, what we're calling Musk the meddler? I mean, he seems to be like a global meddler in all countries, whether it's, all the countries of Europe and the UK. He's been on this, stream of tweets or expos against Keir Starmer, and I think the UK politicians across the spectrum are extremely worried of this. What do you make of this phenomenon of Musk the meddler?
I mean, the gentleman paid for it in the more crudest form of American capitalism. He paid $250 million to the Trump campaign. So I think he purchased the right to meddle
Right.
into the affairs of other governments.
Right.
I mean, sometimes I've always felt that the entire world should be allowed to vote in the American elections because
Yes.
now it's more than evident that they can impact,
Right.
across the board.
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, that's not just it. I mean, as is
Right.
The very mercurial Donald Trump has not assumed office yet, and he's trying to ridicule, belittle, sorry, Kushal, but he's trying to
Yes.
ridicule, belittle, and undermine every Canadian. Forget just Justin Trudeau.
Yes.
That's one. And two, I'm more scared now because I don't know what these Johnnies are going to do because none of them are politicians. They're typical Americans who've been
Yes.
born and brought up. I mean, although, Musk is South African, but they're
Right.
out of that fast food culture where they just want it now and now. So the way they are meddling in the affairs of other countries, I mean, my only fear is that I hope that we're not on their target list because these Johnnies have so much power,
Yes.
especially Musk with his, X and Twitter, that
Right.
he can virtually create a campaign and dislodge a government, if anything
Right.
lesser than that.
Right.
So I hope we're on the right side, and I really hope that Mr. Modi gets an invite for the inaugural in Washington.
Yes, and guess who's going to be in the same room as him? It's someone, most Americans didn't vote for to enter the White House, which is Elon Musk. But Adit, this, very curious phenomenon of Musk the meddler. And of course, as Kushal and Surinder was saying, that sooner or later this could come on to India as well. You possibly would see Elon Musk not very happy with some Indian government policies, and lo and behold, he could go off on a rant there. What do you attribute this desire on Elon Musk's part to change regimes, to effect regime change, in all of these countries that he's been targeting over the last couple of days?
So Sandeep, I look at it slightly differently. I don't think it's more of engineering some sort of a regime change like how a George Soros would have done it.
Yes.
I mean, to many Americans, what Musk is simply doing is exercising his First Amendment rights.
Yes.
Right. But from a European perspective, they see it slightly differently because they understand the horrors of the far right extremism. Whatever happened in the 1940s, etc., and they do not want that. To fall on their shoulders again. But there is also another problem that liberal politics has, sort of, playing around with this political correctness, which has become the bane of civil society in general. So, what is Elon Musk actually doing? He's raising compelling questions, which the politicians themselves are very uncomfortable to answer. From my perspective, my own leader, Keir Starmer, is extremely uncomfortable with answering any questions with regards to the Muslim rape gangs. I don't call them grooming gangs. They are typically Muslim rape gangs because majority of those involved in those gang rapes are Pakistani Muslims who have received disproportionate amount of patronization from both the polity, the policymakers, and the law enforcement agencies. And he's basically raising compelling questions to ensure that civil society can awaken and do some sort of introspection on these issues. If it comes down to India, if he was to raise a compelling question with, say, the Ajmer 92 cases, I think it should be welcomed. If he was to question any policy decisions of the Indian government on, say, some sort of taxation which makes life difficult for Tesla or one of his companies to function in India, I don't think civil society is going to be so much bothered about it. I think it's more about the uncomfortable questions which people almost mask it under the garb of political correctness, and they sort of brush it under the carpet. Is what is making the politicians extremely uncomfortable.
Absolutely. So, Adit, you're betting on the fact that Musk is going to raise only the kind of issues that he's raised in the UK, for instance, as you mentioned, this
no.
rape gangs.
I'm saying that he is going to raise other issues which are going to be beneficial for his his ventures and his his businesses across the world, and that is what the Trump 2.0 will have to deal with it. But I'm saying that all of the other questions that he will raise is probably not going to have the same kind of impact as as something like the rape gangs that he's invoked.
Of course, he's brought that issue out that was there in the cold storage. Everyone knew about it. No one was debating about it, talking about the kind of outrage that we are seeing in the last couple of days in the UK and, of course, across the world is all thanks to Elon Musk. We have to thank him for that. But, Kushal, there's this other post that he had made on X after Trudeau's resignation. It kind of illustrates his agenda. He says that Trump won, Trudeau resigned, Keir Starmer got exposed, Nayib Bukele cut crime by 95% in El Salvador, Javier Milei created the first surplus since 2008 in Argentina, Masculinity is back. Great men are ascendant, and just in time. We are going to need them just in time. So this is, Elon Musk illustrating his agenda. He's all for the right wing, for these strong nationalist right wing leaders. So in a sense, he is actually advocating regime change across the world. And Twitter, of course, is an extremely powerful medium. We are also hearing reports of the UK calling out Musk's tweets, and they are apparently they have reached out to the United States and said, hey, listen, we are allies. You can't allow someone as close to the president-elect to kind of run riot like this. Emmanuel Macron says it's election interference and they're going to act against Elon Musk. You think it's Musk is kind of bitten off more than he could have chewed in this case?
Oh no. What are they going to do? No, seriously, what are they going to do? They're going to tell the Americans our sentiments are hurt.
Right.
Americans, they're going to tell America that, listen, America, for all its worth, is the global leader, like it or not. These are realities that everybody needs to understand. Whether we are Indians or Britishers or Australians, we know which is the dominant superpower of the world. And
right.
Even beyond the point, even the Chinese know that. It's not like the Chinese don't know. There is no solution to this. Honestly, a lot of people talk about like there's a solution. There is no solution to this. The only solution is what the Chinese did, basically isolate your society. And no democracy will isolate their society. So you just have to live with this. You have to live with the idea that there is this one driven person, Elon Musk. If he puts his mind to something, he's going to do whatever he wants to do. And you can't stop him.
Right.
So what you can do is before elections, you can turn the lights off.
Yes, which is what Pakistan seems to have done. That Twitter is still
exactly. So
not available.
Authoritarian societies will turn the lights off.
Yes.
Democracies cannot.
Right.
And as far as these people calling Trump and telling him, listen, Trump is trolling Justin Trudeau and calling him a governor while he's the prime minister.
Yes. It doesn't get any worse than that.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think the conversation is going to be? Hey, Donald, could you lay off a little bit? No. That's what Donald Trump is going to say.
Yes.
You think Keir Starmer has a say? No. They don't, okay? You basically, I'm going to say something in Hindi. Unko apni auqat pata hai.
Right.
Trump is just rubbing it in the face. And he's like, ye dekh teri auqat kya hai. That's all he's doing.
That's what it's come down to, it looks like. But, there is also that worrying aspect about possibly tomorrow. We could be in Elon Musk's crosshairs. Kushal,
so we have a solution because we have see, this is where, because we shut down TikTok and sent a message to the world.
Yes.
You mess with us.
Yes.
Lights off, guys.
Lights off, guys.
Lights off.
Yes. Surinder, you think that's the solution for the government of India in case Elon Musk's tweets or X posts get too close for comfort? That's the solution, that the lights are going to go off like it did for TikTok.
Sandeep, I'm not too sure we can do that. Let me put it this way, that Elon Musk is a knife that could cut both ways. While I definitely agree, in the First Amendment bit, but, the party ain't started yet.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot more coming up. And the biggest irony I see is that Elon Musk has most of his interests in China. And Donald Trump came to power telling them, China and the tariffs he wants to put on the electric cars and everything. So what I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, maybe sit back and enjoy my popcorn and see till how long does the bonhomie between Elon Musk and Donald Trump last, because they're both extremely transactional individuals who don't understand the nuances of politics, both for good or bad reasons. And, Elon Musk is already on record a few months ago criticizing Donald Trump, but, he paid $250 million and kissed and made up. And now Donald Trump said that I'm the president, he's not.
Right.
So, if I was to speak in Hindi, abhi to rishta bhi nahi hua, abhi to shaadi honi, so there's a lot more that needs to pan out, and the jury's out on this one. So
jury's out on this one, Surinder. As they say, that famous Hindi film song, "Abhi to party shuru hui hai." That's the one. "Abhi to party shuru hui hai." Adit, closing comments from you. Where is this headed? When is it going to be our turn next? When are we going to be in Elon Musk's, target?
Well, I think it's going to happen sooner than we think. Look, his transnational politics, his interventions, are going to hit everywhere where
Right.
he has business interests.
Yes.
And sooner or later, it's going to come to our shores. I just feel that India has been more insulated in other ways.
Yes.
They are much more adept to mitigating these kind of issues as compared to other countries which have far more severe issues. And
Yes.
typically, my jibe is towards the liberal politics,
Yes.
which has sort of clubbed itself with Islamic politics, and where Islamic politics has sort of appropriatized liberal politics in a way that
Yes.
they understand the game of democracy much better. Which is why we see so many political interest groups all over the world, whether it be
Right.
Canada, Britain, America, etc., where they hold hostage politics. In the UK, out of the 600 constituencies, 100 constituencies are where the Islamic vote is a massive,
Yes,
massive issue.
yes.
Which is why nobody wants to poke the bear.
Right.
India is slightly different from that particular perspective because we have in power, a so-called right-wing government already.
Yes,
So who is
yes.
he going to poke, and what is he going to get out of it is the question. So
Right.
I think India is much more insulated from that perspective.
India is much more insulated from that perspective. And, on a closing note, Adit and gentlemen, the fact is that a lot of these countries which freely interfere in elections and try and shape electoral landscapes in other countries are today the ones who are shouting the loudest about electoral interference. So I think that is something that we have to kind of, look at with tongue firmly in cheek. I'm afraid we're completely out of time here. We will continue this discussion on another show because as we were discussing a few minutes ago, it's Abhi to party shuru hi hai, that the party has just begun. Stay tuned and thanks for watching. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
An earthquake with a magnitude of 7.1 struck Tibet today. 53 persons have been confirmed dead and thousands of houses flattened in Tibet's Dingri county. Now, the impact of the quake was felt in India and Bhutan. In fact, over the last 30 days, Tibet has been jolted by 20 such quakes of lesser intensity. But there's another reason why we in India are worried. That's because just last month, China cleared the construction of a mega dam, the world's largest, on the Brahmaputra River in Tibet. Now, this new dam will be completed over the next decade. It will be 3 times larger than the world's largest dam, China's Three Gorges Dam project. This new super dam will have a massive reservoir. Now think of this for a moment, the impact of such a massive project in a seismologically sensitive region like the Himalayas. It would be the equivalent of a massive water bomb sitting on our northern frontiers. If this bomb goes off with an earthquake of the kind that we saw today, it would have absolutely unthinkable consequences for millions of people downstream in India and Bangladesh. But why is China building this dam? And what could unfold over the years ahead? Joining me on the show is Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar, who watches China very closely, and Dr. Ritesh Arya, a geologist who's been working in the Himalayas. Gentlemen, welcome to the News 9 Plus show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ritesh, I want to start by asking you this. The Brahmaputra is the world's largest high-altitude river. It's descending through the world's longest and steepest canyon. So one obviously sees the hydropower potential for this project. Why is China so unmindful of the consequences when it's gone ahead with building this dam? Is it the Chinese way that we don't care what our neighbors say, we'll do what we think is in our best interest? And what could be the consequences for us?
Yes, exactly. That is the philosophy of China. They have been following this draconian attitude that we are the best and what we want is for us. We don't care what it means for the rest of the country, or the world. So when they are constructing this dam, they're blocking the entire flow of Brahmaputra, and by doing so, they are trying to do 3 things. One, they want to use this water resources for their own desert areas,
Right.
and divert all the waters to that area, thereby creating scarcity in the Brahmaputra Ganges region,
Right.
The second thing is, by constructing this dam, they have an upper power. You can say that
Yes.
since they are in the top, so they can release the water at any time. They can use it in the times of war, distract our army by just flooding the areas, whenever
Right.
they want. So that is a major concern to us, because
Yes.
blocking this river. And then third thing is, I think they are not mindful of the dangers which they will be imposing not only for Bangladesh and India,
Right. Right.
but to the entire Southeastern region, including the impacts could be felt right up to the northern parts of Australia, or
Right.
Indonesia,
Yes.
and Thailand, Malaysia. When this gorge and this earthquake is triggered,
Yes.
the present earthquake is still, you can say, located very close to Everest, but
Yes.
the dam which they're planning to construct is very near to this Namcha Parvat,
Yes.
and this is, you see, there is a 90-degree turn there,
Yes. Where the river
And
Brahmaputra
when,
takes a
this
sharp
ni-
turn into India.
That's sharp turn. There are two turns, where the docking of India took place when it drifted from Gondwana land,
Yes.
and then it moved further northwards, collided with Tibetan plateau, and led to the evolution of the Himalayas.
Yes.
This entire Nanga Parvat and Namcha Parvat form the you can say, the proper joints, where they
Yes.
India
And that is right where this dam is being situated.
and that is the
Dr.
place
Arya,
where
yes.
this dam is being built. And so this is just a trailer, the 7.1 earthquake which we just saw is just a trailer.
Right.
But when this dam is built on these joints,
Yes.
just consider that these are just hinge joints which you have on your doors,
Yes.
When the pressure is accumulated there, then this may itself, the reservoir itself will trigger some earthquakes.
Right. Right.
So
Absolutely.
that earthquake, if that bursts out,
Yes.
is uncontrollable. The water becomes a bomb, and then it becomes uncontrollable not only for Bangladesh. Yes, we will be and eastern part of India will be
Yes.
more suffering, but the entire Southeast Asian region and up to Australia, this impacts will be felt, and it may trigger even tsunami. Maybe.
Absolutely.
So
Water
that's the volume we are talking about,
reservoir-induced seismicity. But
Yes.
General Shankar, in the last couple of weeks, we've been discussing China's military machine and their ability to, deploy the latest hardware and coerce its neighbors. We've been talking about hypersonic missiles and fighter aircraft and the PLA's armored divisions. But has China now weaponized water with this new project? You think this is a new area that directly affects our national security?
Yeah, thanks a lot once again, Sandeep, for calling me over on News 9. You had mentioned that there were 53 casualties because of this earthquake. The
Yes.
latest toll is 95 as per Chinese reports.
Right.
So it's not a simple earthquake, which the toll might increase as we go along. And the magnitude of the whole
Yes.
affair will come forth. That's the first thing. Personally, I don't think the weaponization of water against India by this dam is a byproduct of their fundamental requirement.
Right.
This is what I've always been saying. I go along with what the earlier speaker said. You see, the Yunnan Basin
Yes.
and the Yangtze Basin of late have been going dry.
Right.
And if they go dry, there's no water. And there's no
Yes.
water, there's no hydroelectricity. This area is completely dependent on hydroelectricity.
Right.
And China is very much short of water.
Right.
And they have also a south-north transfer system,
Yes.
which is not functioning very well.
Right.
And for the first time, 2 years back, the Yangtze River went dry and the bed got exposed. And two of their biggest lakes also just dried out. Now, they need water. They need water, and they intend to take the water from this Great Bend and down to Yunnan.
Right.
Now, the question is, if you can take the water, that's not a big deal. You need to put pipes for that entire length across mountains, and these pipes won't go completely down. They'll be going up and down, and you know how it is. So, which means they are looking at pumping this water in multiple stages to go take it down, which means they need a lot of electricity. A lot of electricity which they are going to produce here is going to get consumed here. Let's be very clear on that. Because in this area, you don't need electricity, the kind of electricity they are producing.
So it's not so much
And
about
the
generating electricity, General Shankar, it's about draining the water away from the Brahmaputra.
Look, let me put that also in picture. The Brahmaputra basin, 85% of the water is collected from the Himalayan crestline,
Yes.
from Brahmaputra's tributaries,
Right.
right? Siang is the Brahmaputra. I mean, in Arunachal, it is called Siang. Up north, it's called Yarlung
Right.
Sampo. Down, it's called Brahmaputra.
Right.
But the Brahmaputra is fed by many more rivers.
Yes.
You take Siom, you take Subansiri, you take Dibang, you take Dilai, and Lohit. All these come from our side of the Himalayas. Plus, there are a whole lot of tributaries which feed Brahmaputra from the south, Borel Hills.
Yes.
So water diversion is not a big deal because we have plenty of water in the Brahmaputra.
Right.
That the two issues, like what the earlier speaker said, is the inducing earthquakes.
Yes.
The water body which they create itself will have the weight to trigger an earthquake. Plus the fact that Himalayas are earthquake prone.
Right.
Right, and the funny thing is they've already experienced such an event in Sichuan.
Yes.
If you look at the Sichuan earthquake, it was triggered by an artificial lake which these people made. The weight of the water there went seeped down into the rocks and broke the rocks, and then
Right.
the earthquake occurred. Well, now if an earthquake occurs or water comes down, whatever is put in, you'll have a one-time event.
Yes.
But the way I look at it, that's the end of the story. After that, nothing will happen, and China will get back to normal.
Right.
The biggest problem is China is doing it without much, thought about others, like what was explained earlier. China is doing it single-mindedly to meet its own requirement.
Right. So
And
China is
it's not
doing it
bothered about
single-mindedly,
others.
of course, as it's always done everything with single-minded focus without bothering about its neighbors. But, Dr. Arya, India has been trying to raise this issue of this super dam, but China even refuses to acknowledge it or even discuss this issue in any of those bilateral forums that have been raised. Are there other means that India can resort to make its concerns felt? India and possibly Bangladesh as well, because we are the two countries that would be directly affected by this gigantic super dam.
See, I have worked in the borders of Ladakh for the last 25 years with Army, providing them groundwater resources, and have closely monitored their movements. You can say they don't care about anything. The population of China and the development which they are envisaging themselves to beat America and become world power is their main motto. So America doesn't care about anything. What you think about them is not important. What they think about themselves is important, and energy becomes more important. And that is why they are more concentrating about building these huge dams and concentrating on energy development as. So this is the main concern, but they are thinking of themselves and the water resources which they'll be draining out into Tibet and the drier parts of Tibet, so that they can bring prosperity to them and become at level with the Chinese mainland.
Right.
But on the other hand, this population which we are facing, so in Bangladesh and us and Thailand and other Malaysian countries, they'll be also affected if something happens there.
Right,
We can't say
right.
that it is just affecting Bangladesh and India. So
Right.
in that case, in that scenario, how we can put pressure is that we have to be very firm in dealing with China. We
Right.
can't just say that it is okay. We can't and just move on. We have to be very firm in our policies.
Yes.
The whole nation has to speak one language. It is not about opposition and the ruling party.
Yes.
One nation, one policy, and that is we have to oppose China on this front.
Absolutely.
At
Yes.
all fronts, And it should not be an appeasement policy that we criticize the
we have
government.
to. Absolutely,
So it has to
that
be a
point is well
unilateral affair.
made, Dr. Arya. But General Shankar, we've opposed China very firmly on the border. We've stood our ground. We haven't held back, and finally the Chinese had to withdraw. Do you see something like this happening with this gigantic super dam project, with all its attendant risks that Dr. Arya and you yourself have mentioned? What must we be doing now to ensure that this dam doesn't become the kind of threat that all our experts are saying it will?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair question. And I think we've got the opportunity now with this earthquake. You see, China at the end of the day, well, you might say that it doesn't care what it does,
Yes.
and it does everything for itself and all that. It also is conscious of its good boy image.
Right.
Now, that is what its actually heel is in this case. Now, there are 2, 3 things you can do. One, like it was rightly brought out, it's not only India and Bangladesh which will be affected, even
Yes.
Thailand and Myanmar, all
Myanmar
these will
as well.
also be
Yes.
affected. Yeah, the Mekong could be affected, the Salween could be affected, the Irrawaddy could be affected. So hence, there is a case for us taking this cue of this particular incident, this earthquake happening, to go and rake up the issue through ASEAN.
Right.
We could put pressure on China through Bangladesh.
Yes.
Then the next thing is, of course, you take it up through the Global South agencies and say, look, this is what China is doing. Tomorrow they'll do it for you also. And, we
Right.
have a good standing in Global South. Let's start doing that. I mean, you need to go on a high octane information, drive on this issue.
Absolutely.
And tell. Right. The next thing which I feel, it might be far-fetched, but I think Tibet is coming into focus. And Tibet is coming into focus in many ways. You see, you had this earthquake here. There's a dam being built. There's a copper somewhere in Yunnan. There's a copper reserve which has been found. So they're going to do copper mining and all that out there, and it also affects the ecology X, Y, Z. There is also the fact that China is very worried about the fact that Dalai Lama, the succession of the Dalai Lama
Yes.
is also an issue. And as per what I've learned, there is already a back channel discussion between the PRC and the Central Tibetan Authority. Right. So now, because you see, if tomorrow something happens with the Dalai Lama and
Yes.
there is a kitpit between the Dalai Lama and this, Tibet can go up in flames and they're worried.
Right.
Right. Tibet is still their weak point if you know how to play it well.
Yes.
So if you put all these issues in perspective, highlight what has happened in this case, and probably the north of Everest is probably one of the most stable areas in this entire, between these two hinges of
Right.
Nanga Parbat and Namcha Barwa.
Right.
Right. So we have a lot of things to do, and in any case, it's not in a hurry. This dam will take not in a decade. I don't think it will be done in 2 decades also,
Right.
because that's the time it took 3 Gorges Dam to be made.
Yes.
And this is bigger than that.
Right.
So there is time on our side, but like it was brought out, the nation has to stand up as a whole and fight this.
Absolutely.
If the people of the nation start
Yes.
fighting, then we will get the thing. And it's not going to be a one-day affair. Earthquake has happened and tomorrow you've forgotten it. Day after, the opposition cries foul.
Yes.
This has to be a constant effort, which is going to be, we're going to push back on China for the next maybe 5-10 years.
Right.
Then, of course, which people don't discuss, but I think
Yes.
it's time we started our own gray zone activities.
Right.
Well, when China is doing gray zone activities, why shouldn't I do gray zone activities?
Right.
So let's
Dr.
start
Arya,
thinking.
this point, these points that General Shankar made about how we actually need to get our act together when it comes to this massive super dam. Do you see this as a viable strategy, as in, work on multiple fronts? Because as General Shankar said, this dam is not going to be built overnight. It's going to be a several decades long project, and it's a statement of intent basically. And they start constructing, it will be not available before possibly the mid 2030s or the late 2030s. But what is it that India should start doing now? How much of an opportunity does this earthquake, today's devastating earthquake, present to us when we make our case before the world?
Yeah, we can raise this issue first. Maybe I'll put it in 2-3 terms. What we can do globally. Globally, we can place this in United Nations Development Sustainable Agency. The second thing is, and the most important is, we have to remember the treaty which was signed in 1842 between India, China, Tibet, and Britishers.
Right.
And that says that this China and Tibet, at that time Tibet was autonomous unit, and then they all agreed to it. And then Zorawar Singh comes into picture, Zorawar Singh was the man who built the army and brought all the routes from Punjab se leke and to Kailash tak.
Right.
So we have to be aggressive now. Yes, we have been protecting, we have said that we are coming back. No, we have no, जो हमारा 1962 का status था, we have almost, we are almost holding the same situation there. But
Yes.
at that time, much territory was given to Aksai Chin, was given to, including Kailash.
Right.
So the government should say that if now we got Ram Mandir, and then we have to get this Kailash back.
Yes.
And when we say that we have to go get Kailash back, we should mean it. And when we mean it, the entire nation again has to stand up. The army is strong enough. We have already shown it in Galwan, and now the entire defense forces, which we have seen, jahan pe gaadiyan took, when I was there, in 2013, it used to take 28 days to reach DBO, other than 2 months. So now it takes only about 10 hours,
Right.
So
But
that is the movement
Dr.
and
Arya, this
development we have
point
to
about, raising this dam issue, I'm just bringing you back to the
So
dam.
I'm just,
and
I'm just
issue of
telling you
this-
what are the steps you can take,
Yes.
So China ka policy kya rahi hai hamesha, they don't want to fight a war, they just want
Yes.
to threaten us, by doing all these major projects or maybe attacking us somewhere. So if we open the front of Kailash, that is
Yeah.
the origin of Sangpo River. Sangpo is sorrow of China, this is
Right.
Brahmaputra. So that originates there, the entire river systems. Then they have a different thing that if the China is going to do this, India is going to have a proactive attitude,
Right.
in tackling all
Absolutely.
these things. We can't just sit here and just complain to United
Absolutely.
Nations or
We-
Asian countries. We have to deal this matter. India is also a superpower. It is also emerging as
Yes.
a superpower.
Yes.
Yes, we may take some time, but we have all the resources and the strength to
Right.
divert all these. These are just diversionary attitudes, of China. Yes, they want to conduct. So we also want Kailash, and we need this entire territory of ours back.
Right.
So that front has to be taken
yes,
up. So that
I'm afraid
we are
we're completely
engaged-
out of
we
time,
engage them
Dr.
in that
Arya.
front also.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I mean, the reason we are talking about China's very worrying development, that's flagging off a super dam on India's borders, is because of that massive earthquake in Tibet that could imperil any such dam project along the borders, and these projects would have massive consequences for countries downstream. You just heard it from our experts, not just India and Bangladesh, but Thailand and Myanmar as well. And that's one reason why China's new dam project has come into our focus today. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us today.